Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. I'm here trying to remember how to stream this live because we were recording it all over Europe. We're back home and we're ready to find out what's happening on Wacky Wednesday. Speaking of which, let's read our headlines. In Wacky Wednesday news, primary school teacher rightly fired after lying about a day at Efteling, which is like the local ferry amusement park here in the Netherlands.
Okay, and weird and wacky news in the States, we have squirrels causing power outages and bears stealing donuts.
In environmental news, it's revealed almost everyone in Europe is breathing toxic air. Great thing to find out after you just went on tour of Europe for 2 weeks.
And we spin the Squeal of Fortune to find out today's lucky contestant.
In culture news, we've got Rupert Murdoch often wishes Donald Trump dead by the Michael Wolff book.
And those stories and all on today, National Pepperoni Pizza Day, September 20th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee.
All right, here we are. I figured out how to do the intro again, and we're ready to go continue our exciting Wacky Wednesday news, starting with a primary school in the Netherlands. Primary school teacher who went to Efteling for a day with her class on her own initiative has been rightly dismissed for doing so, the Amsterdam court has ruled. The teacher challenged the dismissal because she believed the outing was well-intentioned. Thought it would be fun to surprise the children, mostly from underprivileged families, with a day at the amusement park. The teacher from the Professor Dumont School in Amsterdam, Zuidoost, has previously gone to the school management to ask if she could take the children to Efteling. The director thought that was too expensive and decided that it would be better if the group went to Space Expo in Noordwijk. The teacher, who had been employed for more than 2 years, did not listen to that. Without informing the school board, she left for Efteling with her class on March 10th. Did this together with an external supervisor who covered the extra costs, in 2 vans borrowed from other schools. The court found that there was an unacceptable risk and uninsured situation. A few days later, the teacher reported on the school trip in the school newsletter. She wrote about the field trip to the Space Expo, giving the impression that students had actually been there. In court, she said she never had the intention to lie to management and parents. However, she asked the children not to reveal anything about the outing to their parents, brothers, or sisters. Ah yes, omission of truth. At the hearing, it became clear that this had not always been successful. A child has been beaten because, in the eyes of a parent, kept lying about Efteling. Wow, really? You're gonna beat your child because they talked about having an imagination and going to a place with fairies? Amazing! Where's that parent's arrest warrant, by the way? My mom beat me because I kept lying. Okay, well, it doesn't matter if you're lying. It's illegal to beat kids, so...
Maybe it's not illegal.
The deception came to light when a fine was received for driving too fast on the A2 for one of the 2 borrowed vans. You won't get that part out. You won't get to that part of the A2 if you drive to the Space Expo from Amsterdam. Ultimately, the woman confessed to the lies in a conversation with the HR department, after which the school summarily dismissed her 3 days later. The decision now remains in effect. Poor teacher just wanted to give these kids something way better than the Space Expo. And wanted, let's go see the trees with faces and the elves and the funny mirror room. No, that's too expensive. Well, I think they're trying to probably get away with the whole idea of, look, we could afford it. See, I afforded it just fine. What's the big deal? Well, a child got beat over it. I guess that's the big deal. But that's your Wacky Wednesday news here from the Netherlands.
Child beating season again. I totally missed it. All right, and more wacky news involving animals this time. The animal kingdom. We have 2 separate stories, and cutesy little animals doing cutesy little things. An AP report, we have a Bears raided Krispy Kreme donut van making deliveries on an Alaska military base. That's right, this is a story from, it just says AP. 2 bears on an Alaska military base have raided a Krispy Kreme donut van that was stopped outside a convenience store during its delivery route. The driver usually leaves the doors open when he stopped at the store, but this time a sow and one of her cubs that loitered nearby sauntered inside where they stayed probably 20 minutes. Tuesday morning, said Sheila Diano, the store manager for Joint Elmendorf Richardson JMM Express. The bears chomped on the donut holes and other pastries, ignoring the banging on the side of the van that was aimed at shooing them away. I was beating on the van and they're not moving. I could hear them breaking open the packages and everything, she said. It was like, they don't even care. When the bears couldn't be roused, base security was called and sounded sirens meant to scare away the bears, she said. The bears eventually came out and wandered in front of the convenience store gas station a bit before heading into the woods because they couldn't find a bathroom. It's unusual to see the bears on the base or around the store, but nothing like this. It's not unusual to see the bears on the base or around the store, but nothing like this has happened before, Diano said, adding that delivery driver now closes his doors when he stops at the shop. We're cautious when coming in, when we leave, but when we take out the garbage, we do in pairs, especially if it's dark. Captain Lexi Smith, a spokesman at the base, said authorities on the base are aware of this and other wildlife situations throughout the past several months. We urge the public to use caution and ensure protecting our wildlife and yourselves. Wildlife may be our neighbor, but they should not be attracted to our human food sources, he said. And in a similar vein, this is from United Press International. Ben Hooper. Squirrels caused 3 power outages in 2 days in Montana City. Oh yes, the squirrels, the tree rats. They are busy this time of year, gathering stuff up, running everywhere, competing for food. And so we got them getting fried on Transformers. Not so cutesy when they're getting fried, but we'll check it out. Utility officials in a Montana city said squirrels were responsible for 3 separate power outages over the course of 2 days. Northwestern Energy said about 14,500 customers were without power for 45 minutes on Saturday when a squirrel damaged equipment at a substation. Further outages were reported Sunday morning and Sunday evening. The utility company says investigation into the Sunday outages revealed that they were also caused by squirrels tampering with equipment. And so, well, there's got to be more to the story. But there isn't! Yes, they really dug. Oh no, I read more. It says here. Okay, read. That's it. That's the story. Wow, they really dug into the squirrel situation. UPI, way to dig, Ben. Way to dig. Okay, so that's your story. Unfortunately, Ben is a lazy reporter. He just, some copy came across. Throw some words together. All right, your story.
All right. Well,
what now?
Into European news, we've got a revealed big revelation here. After we finished our 2-week stint all over Europe, we're gonna find out that we were breathing in toxic air that's linked to 400,000 deaths a year. This is from Matthew Taylor, environmental correspondent, and Pamela Duncan on The Guardian. Europe is facing a severe public health crisis, with almost everyone across the continent living in areas with dangerous levels of air pollution. An investigation by The Guardian has found. Analysis of data gathered using cutting-edge methodology, including detailed satellite images and measurements from more than 1,400 ground monitoring stations, reveals a dire picture of dirty air, with 98% of people living in areas with highly damaging fine particulate pollution that exceeds World Health Organization guidelines. Almost 2/3 live in areas where air quality is more than double the WHO's guidelines. The worst hit country in Europe is North Macedonia. Almost 2/3 of the people across the country living in areas with more than 4 times the WHO guidelines for PM 2.5, while 4 areas were found having air pollution almost 6 times the figure, including the capital, Skopje. That's where Skopje is, in North Macedonia. I think you're asking about that. at some point. Or maybe not, and I'm just pulling that out of my ass.
How the city was formed, I believe.
There's a cool graph here, which I will not show you, but there's a cool graph here of kind of like orange being really polluted. Oh, sorry, black being really polluted and orange being slightly polluted, and then kind of white being really clean air. And the only places that have that really clean air are Norway, Sweden, Finland, but only up north where nobody lives. Iceland is completely clean. And the Scotland Highlands, they're mostly clean except for the cities, of course. And Poland is a giant black scar. The Alps, or I guess, what's the city in northern Italy? I can't think of it.
Nice.
Northern Italy?
Italy? I don't know. Palermo.
Well,
I don't
Serbia,
know.
North Macedonia, Albania, and northern Italy, all giant black, 19 plus average micrograms of plastic, particulate pollution, or whatever in the air. Eastern Europe is significantly worse than Western Europe, apart from Italy, where more than a third of those living in the Po Valley and surrounding areas in the north of the country breathe air that's 4 times the WHO figure for the most dangerous airborne particulates. The Guardian worked with pollution experts to produce an interactive map revealing the worst hit areas on the continent. The measurement refers to PM 2.5, tiny airborne particulates mostly produced from burning of fossil fuels, some of which can pass through the lungs and into the bloodstream, affecting almost every organ in the body. The current WHO guidelines state the annual average concentration of PM 2.5 should not exceed 5 micrograms of cubic meters. The new analysis found only 2% of the population of Europe live in areas within this limit. Experts say that PM 2.5 pollution causes about 400,000 deaths a year across the continent. Q&A. What is PM 2.5? PM 2.5 particles, there you go, we got it, are those that are less than 2.5 micrometers in diameter. They're invisible to the naked eye and small enough to penetrate deep into our lungs. Exposure to these tiny particles dominates the health harm from air pollution and is the leading environmental risk factor for early death. PM 2.5 comes from the burning of solid and liquid fuels through power generation, domestic heating, and motor traffic. It can also form in the air from chemical reactions between other pollutants. A growing body of research shows that these particulates are responsible for a huge range of health problems from the lung and heart disease to diabetes and cancer, brain function to premature births, all as well as leaving millions of people with life-limiting chronic health conditions. They also lead to the early death of more than 400,000 people across Europe each year. Experts say that 200,000 of these could be saved if the air in Europe met World Health Organization guidelines. The current WHO guidelines state that the annual average concentration should not exceed 5 micrograms, talked about. This is a severe public health risk, says Roel Vermeulen, a professor of environmental epidemiology at Utrecht University, who led the team of researchers across the continent that compiled the data. What we see quite clearly is that nearly everyone in Europe is breathing unhealthy air. The data also reveals almost all residents in 7 countries in Eastern Europe, Serbia, Romania, Albania, North Macedonia, Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary, have double the WHO guidance. More than half the population of North Macedonia and Serbia live with the 4 times the WHO figure. In Germany, 3/4 of the populations live with more than twice the WHO guidance. In Spain, the figure is 49%. In France, it's 37%. In the UK, 3/4 of the population live in areas where the exposure is between 1 and 2 times the guidance, with almost a quarter over it. Close to 30 million Europeans are living in areas with small particle concentrations that are at least 4 times the WHO guidelines. In Sweden, by contrast, there is no area where PM 2.5 reaches more than twice the figure. And some areas in northern Scotland are amongst the few across Europe that fall below it. Time to move to northern Scotland. Traffic, industry, domestic heating, and agriculture are the main sources of PM 2.5, and the impact is often felt disproportionately by the poorest communities. Air pollution has become a key issue in Europe, with the EU coming under pressure to do more to tackle the growing public health risk. Last week, the European Parliament voted to adopt the WHO guidelines on PM 2.5 by 2035. Hopefully, all those people can get saved from that. The law, which must still be finalized in negotiations with the Council, would set a legally binding limit for annual PM 2.5 concentrations down of 5 UGM3s, I don't know what that measurement is, down from 25. So right now it's 25 metrics, and they want to get it all the way down to 5 metrics. But experts say urgent action needs taking now. They point to a growing body of evidence that shows air pollution affects almost every organ in the body and is linked to a huge range of health problems from heart and lung disease to cancer and diabetes, depression, mental illness to cognitive impairment and low birth rate. One recent study found air pollution responsible for 1 million stillbirths a year. Another that young people living in cities already have billions of toxic air pollution particles in their hearts. Dr. Hannah Bogard, an expert on air pollution in Europe at the U.S. Health Effects Institute, and the new analysis was crucial to help inform the debate about air pollution and its effect on the continent, which he said resulted in hundreds of thousands of deaths each year. These deaths are preventable, and the estimate does not include millions of cases of non-fatal diseases, years lived with disability, and attributable hospitalizations or health effects from other pollutants. Some towns and cities across Europe, including London and Milan, are making strides to tackle air pollution, from introduction of ultra-low emission zones to traffic reduction schemes and walking and cycling lane initiatives. Experts say politicians must act with urgency in light of the growing evidence of harm. That's right. For example, Amsterdam is trying to go completely car-free. You can't get polluted by cars if they're not in your city. Of course, they'll be somewhere else. They're going to be somewhere else. Somewhere polluting that area instead. The data was compiled by academics at Utrecht University in the Netherlands and the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute as part of the EU-funded EXPANSE project. They use a combination of sources from high-resolution satellite data to pollution monitoring stations and information about land use to model annual average of PM 2.5 levels across Europe in 2019. State pollution levels will not be significantly different today, but added there might be areas where stringent anti-pollution measures have been implemented that see some improvement. The overall result is one of the most accurate and comprehensive pictures of air pollution across the continent to date. So this was made in 2019, which may also have been reduced due to nobody driving anywhere because of COVID. They were all stuck inside. So that might have also helped reduce some air pollution in the last 2 or 3 years during the quarantine. But we'll see what happens, I guess, by 2035. We're all not full of air pollution in our heart. On to your next story.
Okay, today, more news, I guess. We spin the Squeal of Fortune. So here we go. Gonna give it a spin, see who's one of Donald J. Trump's co-conspirators might be squealing on him next. They're definitely not gonna be going to jail for him. If you're going to jail for him, you're a fool. I just got that to say. And take it from his ex-lawyer, Michael Cohen, who's not on the squeal, by the way. Here we go. He's already done his time. So here we go, the Squeal of Fortune. Let's see if we got this. We're spinning. See that all right?
I see it. It's spinning.
And we landed on Peter Navarro. Woohoo! We know that guy. This is going to be Peter Navarro.
We're going to look him up real quick.
Yep. Recently indicted Peter Navarro for, recently convicted.
Ooh.
Of,
this gets juicier.
Yeah, let's do this from the New York Times. This is from a few days ago, September 7th, but we didn't cover it because we were covering other things. Did we cover Peter Navarro convicted of contempt of Congress over January 6th subpoena? Okay. Oh, it's trying to make me get an app now. The verdict made Mr. Navarro the second top advisor of former President Donald Trump to be found guilty of contempt for defying the House committee's investigation. Peter Navarro, former trade advisor to President Donald Trump, former President Trump, was convicted on Tuesday of 2 counts of criminal contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena from the House Select Committee on January 6th. The verdict, coming after nearly 4 hours of deliberation in federal court in Washington, made Mr. Navarro the second top advisor of Mr. Trump's to be found guilty in connection with the committee's inquiry. Steve Bannon, a former strategist for Trump, who was convicted of the same offense last summer, faces 4 months of prison and remains free on appeal. Mr. Navarro, 74, stood to the side of his lawyer's table, stroking his chin as the verdict was read aloud. Each count carries a maximum 1 year in prison and a fine up to $100,000. A hearing is to determine his sentence was scheduled for January. And this was a story that was published in New York Times on September 7th by Zach Montague. Forgot to give you that. I'm willing to go to prison to settle this issue. I'm willing to do that, he said. But I also know the likelihood of me going to prison is relatively small because we are right on this issue. No, you're not in a right to ignore subpoenas. Sorry. The jury's decision handed a victory to the House committee, which had sought to penalize senior members of the Trump administration who refused to cooperate with one of the chief investigations into the Capitol riot. The trial also mounted an unusual test of congressional authority. Since the 1970s, referrals for criminal contempt of Congress have rarely resulted in Justice Department bringing charges. Mr. Navarro was indicted last June on 2 misdemeanor counts of contempt, one for failing to appear for a deposition, and another for refusing to provide documents in response to the committee's subpoena. The rapid pace of the trial reflected, in part, the fact that the case turned on a straightforward question, whether Mr. Navarro had willfully defied lawmakers in flouting a subpoena. Even before the trial began, Judge Amit P. Mehta, who presided over the case, dealt the blow to Mr. Navarro by ruling that he could not use in court what he has publicly cast as his principal defense, that Mr. Trump personally directed him not to cooperate and that he was protected by those claims of executive privilege. Of course, that doesn't apply when you're breaking the law. Which was founded in Nixon administration a long time ago. You're breaking the law, give up the tapes, Nixon. Mr. Navarro, a Harvard-trained economist and strident critic of China, devised some of the Trump administration's most adversarial trade policies toward the country. Once the pandemic took hold, he helped coordinate the United States' response by securing equipment like face masks and ventilators, but after the 2020 election, he became more focused on plans to keep Mr. Trump in power. Mr. Navarro is particularly interested in the committee because of his frequent television appearance in which he cast doubt on the election results and peddled specious claims of voter fraud. He made them up, man. He was also documented those assertions on 3-part report on purported election irregularities, as well as in the memoir he published after he left the White House. In the book, Mr. Navarro described a strategy he had devised with Mr. Bannon known as the Green Bay Sweep, which is not even a thing. It was called the Lombardi Sweep or Sweep. He just said, oh, it's a Green Bay Sweep. So he started to slander to find people of Green Bay with his stupid claim. But when it was aimed at overturning the results of the election in key swing states that had been called for Joe Biden Jr. Okay, it didn't work and it was against the law. So that's not even what he was found guilty of. He was found guilty of just not showing up. So Peter Navarro, who's probably going to squeal at some point, I would imagine. He's a big squealer. He's sitting in court going, it wasn't me. Big mean Donnie Trump made me do it. That's what he's doing. Guy's on TV all the time, just flapping his gums. So you may see Peter Navarro on a TV screen near you, and you'll go, wow, that guy sure talks a lot, but doesn't say much. And there's a famous video of him right on TV of the lady with the sign behind him. You got to see it. Maybe I'll just, I don't know if you...
You're going to look it up right now?
Yeah, it ain't that long. It's about 21 seconds. Let's see if we got a video. We gotta sit through an ad. An ad.
For that moment she gets sick.
Here's a story with it. Peter Navarro, a former advisor of Donald Trump, attempted to snatch a Trump lost sign from a protester in the steps of the federal courthouse in Washington on Wednesday, 30 August. Whenever that ad ends, we'll show you maybe. After take. Okay, thank you. What ad?
Here's the problem.
Somebody needs to get YouTube. Okay, here we go.
I'm
A
going
little
up to
more
the-
to your right. There you go.
Oh,
You're already facing charges.
I'm kidding. So, yes, okay.
That was pretty short, and I can't. They made you write an ad for that. Yeah. Damn.
No, 20-second video. All right, and that's our story. Peter Navarro and the lady making fun of him goes on a lot longer. It's like 5 minutes of, yeah, go ahead and insult me, get arrested for something else, she said. Anyway.
I don't give a shit. Yeah. All right.
Here's the all right.
In culture news, let's go ahead and cover Rupert Murdoch. Well, I guess it's Michael Wolff's book, which talks about Rupert Murdoch and Donald Trump. This is from Martin Pengelly in Washington on The Guardian. Rupert Murdoch loathes Donald Trump so much that the billionaire has not just soured him on him as a presidential candidate, but often wishes for his death. The author Michael Wolff writes in his eagerly awaited new book on the media mogul, the fall, the end of Fox News, and the Murdoch dynasty. According to Wolff, Murdoch 92 has become a frothing at the mouth enemy of the 77-year-old former U.S. president, often voicing thoughts including this would all be solved if, and how could he still be alive? How could he? Says the 92-year-old, who also helped destroy America and Australia and the UK with his media mogul empire. That was my own editorial there. That's not in the article itself. The fall was announced last month and will be published in the US next Tuesday. The Guardian obtained a copy. Wolff has written 3 tell-all books about Trump, Fire and Fury, Siege and Landslide, and one about Murdoch, the man who owns the news. In his second Murdoch book, he says he may be the journalist not in his employ who knows Murdoch best. Wolff also describes his source material as conversations specifically for this book and other conversations that have taken place over many years, scenes and events that I have personally witnessed or that I have recreated with the help of participants in them. After Trump entered the U.S. politics in 2015, winning the White House the following year, he, along with the increasingly extreme Republican Party, Fox News, and other properties in Murdoch's right-wing media empire, formed a symbiotic relationship. But Murdoch has long been reported to have soured on Trump. A process which, according to Wolff, saw Murdoch personally endorse the Fox News call of Arizona for Joe Biden on election night in 2020 that fueled Trump's campaign of lies about voter fraud, culminating in the deadly January 6th attack on Congress. By the beginning of this year, Wolff writes, what Murdoch adamantly didn't want was Trump. All of Trump's implacable enemies, Murdoch has become a frothing at the mouth one. He is relatively calm demeanor from early Trump presidency where, with a sigh, he could dismiss him merely as a fucking idiot, had now become a churning of stew of rage and recrimination. That was a quote by Murdoch, by the way. He said the words fucking idiot. Trump's death became a Murdoch theme. We would all be better off. This would all be solved if. How could he still be alive? How could he? Have you seen him? Have you seen what he looks like? What he eats? Trump has regularly claimed be exceptionally fit for his age, claims backed by doctors when he was in the White House. He also claims to be more mentally fit for office than Biden. His 80-year-old successor claims many observe increasingly doubt. After Trump left office, Wolff writes, Murdoch, like much of the Republican establishment, had convinced himself that Trump was finally vulnerable, that his hold on the base on Republican politicians had weakened enough that now was the time to kill him off. Finally. But now, as another election a year approaches, Trump is in a rude political health. Notwithstanding 91 criminal charges for state and federal election subversion, retention of classified information, and hush money payments, and assorted civil cases, Trump leads the Republican primary by vast margins in national and key state polling, the overwhelming favorite to win the nomination to face Biden in another White House battle. So yeah, that guy is not going anywhere, and Murdoch hates his guts. There's your culture news update here. And we go on to this day in history.
Yeah, very common among Republicans to hope that Trump was dead already. But he's like, yeah, I'm still alive, guys. But, they're just holding out hope. You say, well, people drop dead every day. That's kind of what that's their mission in life. That's why nobody... Look who's running. Who's running? They got nobody running against them. The people they got running against them are like comic book characters. As bad as he is, they're just a bunch of sycophants to anything he says. So what good are they? They have no... Even the ones that want to be bold pull back at the last second. Even Chris Christie. He's like, puts his hand up. I'm going to support Trump if he's nominated. Like this, he does this. Not all the way up. It's like, what are you? Grow up. Grow a pair. All right, this day in history. 1519, Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan departed from Sanlúcar de Barrameda, Spain, on a quest to circumnavigate the globe. Although he died during the voyage, the expedition entreated his goal. In 1761, the Portuguese Jesuit Gabriel Malagreda was burned to death for his involvement in the conspiracy of the Tavares. Burned to death, they did to him. What a freakish thing to do. In 1792, the French Legislative Assembly replaced the National Convention, marking the formal beginning of the First Republic. In 1854, British and French forces defeated the Russians at the Battle of the Alma, a victory that left the Russian naval base of Sevastopol vulnerable, endangered the entire Russian portion in the Crimean War. The Crimean War. Sounds familiar today. 1886, South African city of Johannesburg was founded. In 1946, delayed because of World War II, the first Cannes Film Festival began and became one of the cinema's major annual events in September 20th, 1946. And in 1973, the much publicized Battle of the Sexes tennis match, Billie Jean King defeated Bobby Riggs, as in the game was rigged. They admit it later. That was rigged. Okay, 1998, American professional baseball player Cal Ripken Jr. ended his streak of 2,632 consecutive games played when he missed a bus to the game. No, I'm just kidding. He just day off. Took a day off like we all do, and we're all celebrating it. 2011, the Don't Ask and Don't Tell U.S. military policy that theoretically lifted a ban on homosexuals in the armed forces, provided individuals kept their sexuality private, officially ended. The stroke of a pen from President Obama. 2017, Hurricane Maria struck Puerto Rico, causing more than $90 billion in damages, according to the government officials, nearly 3,000 deaths. So a hurricane was terrible on this day 6 years ago. Our featured event, Rome incorporated into Italy. That's right, on this day in 1870, Italian troops occupied Rome, leading to the eventual incorporation of Rome into the Kingdom of Italy and the limiting of papal governing authority to the Vatican itself and a small district around it. So there you go. Rome was not always part of Italy. Upton Sinclair was born on this day in 1870. Upton Sinclair, American novelist. And 1954, Lloyd Blankfein, American executive, was born. 1948, George R.R. Martin was born, American writer. 1934, Sophia Loren was born, Italian actress. 1917, American basketball coach Red Auerbach was born. And in 1899, American political philosopher Leo Strauss was born. Leo Strauss born on this day in 1899. And what day is it besides Pepperoni Pizza Day? It is a National Fried Rice Day. So if you don't like the pepperoni, you gotta have some fried rice. And it's National Care for Kids Day. So if you are a child care professional or a teacher or somebody who just cares about kids, it's your day. And it's National Punch Day. No, that does not mean go out and punch people. It's well, it could, but it could mean that, but it doesn't. It means that little drink that you make of various juices, and it tastes pretty generic. National Punch Day. National String Cheese Day. Well, string cheese is almost always mozzarella, so that goes with National Pepperoni Pizza Day. And those are your days for today.
Okay. Well, this has been... Let me do this. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands, back home and ready to find out what's happening for the rest of the week. And this time we won't miss Thursday and Friday show like we did last week. Because we were we were on vacation, okay? We're allowed to miss some days.
Yeah, we can go back and fill in later. I don't know. Anyway, this is Roger, United States, saying good morning as the sun is peeking above the horizon right now in the United States on the East Coast for September 20th, 2023 edition of Before Coffee.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.